Hi everybody, I hope you had a good spring break and that you are happy and healthy and ready to start work. We are today going to learn a new sentence type. For the past couple of weeks you've been learning about simple sentences. Simple sentences are sentences that contain one independent clause. They can be as simple as just a subject and a verb. Today we're going to learn about compound sentences. Often we're going to refer to compound sentences as I semicolon I, or I, comma, CI, because those are the two types. Just like we talked about the different types of simple sentences, SV, SSV, these are the two types of compound sentences. A compound sentence contains two or more independent clauses, so it is different than a simple sentence, which is one independent clause. And using both compound sentences and simple sentences are going to be, or is going to be, really helpful for your writing because it makes it more interesting for the reader to see a variation of your sentence types. A compound sentence often has just two independent clauses. What's an independent clause? As review, it's a simple sentence, and a simple sentence really only needs a subject and a predicate. These are the four ways we can make our independent clauses. We can have a subject and a verb, two subjects and a verb, a subject and two verbs, or two subjects and two verbs. A compound sentence is built by using two or more of those independent clauses. So most often we're going to use just the simplest, an SV, and we're going to use two of those to build a compound sentence. The following sentence is a compound sentence. The students finished class and they went to lunch. There are two independent clauses in this sentence. The first independent clause could stand on its own. It could be a simple sentence. The students finished class, period. But instead, we're extending it and connecting it to another idea, making it a compound sentence. The second independent clause, they went to lunch, has our subject, has our verb, two SV sentences put together to make one compound sentence. We're going to now go through the verb-subject identification procedure to make sure that these are two simple sentences. And in order to do that, I'm going to go back into Notability so that I can write these down with you. The students finished class. We're going to look at that one first. In that simple sentence or independent clause, finished is the verb. And who or what finished? Students. Is there any helping verb? No, so it's just an SV. And then the second one, they went to lunch. Went is our verb. And they is our subject. No helping verbs. So we have two SVs, but something that we haven't talked about is how are those two sentences joined. So we went through the procedure, the first independent clause, second independent clause, found the verb for each and the subject for each. I'm going to return to that. What we didn't do is we didn't talk about this word right here. And we're going to focus more on that word and that comma as we move along. But I don't want you to forget that that helped to join those two sentences, and we will come back to that. Kevin did not want to hurt Kathy's feelings, so he said nothing about her mistake. We are going to now break down this compound sentence into two independent clauses and identify the subjects and verbs in each. So what's the first independent clause? The first independent clause, Kevin did not want to hurt Kathy's feelings, comma, so second independent clause, he said nothing about her mistake. What's the action or state of being in the first clause? Kevin did not want. Want. It's hard to see that that's red. Let me try again. Want. And there is a helping verb, did. Did want. Remember, we leave the not out. And who or what did not want, and that is Kevin. And this is all one verb, did want. He said nothing about her mistake. The verb in that independent clause is said, and the subject is he. SV, SV. Again, I hope you noticed the comma so, which we didn't talk about. We're going to get to that, I promise. Here's one more. I want to see my sister soon, for she has been in Switzerland for 2 years. First independent clause, I want to see my sister soon. Second independent clause, she has been in Switzerland for 2 years. Want is my verb. Who or what wants? I want. She has been in Switzerland. Has been is my second verb. Who or what has been? She has been. Again, it's an SV, SV. We know that these are compound sentences. Compound sentences are different from simple sentences with, say, 2 subjects and 2 verbs because they contain 2 independent clauses that can stand alone. So if I go back, remember, this could be a sentence all by itself. I want to see my sister soon. Stands all by itself. She has been in Switzerland for 2 years stands all by itself. What made it compound is that we connected it. Simple sentences only have that one independent clause and they can stand alone. But a compound sentence has 2 independent clauses that can each stand alone, but they are linked by either a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon. Here it says compound sentences differ from simple sentences with compound subjects and compound verbs. The 2 independent clauses in a compound sentence are joined in one of 2 ways. They can be joined with either a coordinating conjunction or a semicolon. The coordinating conjunctions, we call them fanboys. For and nor, but or yet so. See why we call them fanboys? The beginning letters. It's a way to remember your coordinating conjunctions. And this is what I promised I would talk to you about when I was going over these sentences, where it said comma for, and here it said comma so. Those are part of our fanboys. So when you are making a compound sentence, you're connecting 2 independent clauses, and one way to do that is to use a comma and a coordinating conjunction in order to connect the 2. Another way is to use a semicolon. This is used when you don't want to use a coordinating conjunction. Maybe you've already written 2 compound sentences and you used coordinating conjunctions in your paragraph. So now you want to use a different type of sentence and you're going to use a semicolon. Remember, semicolons are like magic. Whenever you use them, everyone's going to think you're a genius, you're very sophisticated, they're going to be so impressed with your writing because they're not that common, but if you use them correctly, they are that impressive. Here is an example of joining with a semicolon. Susan loves to swim. Her brother likes to dive. This is an independent clause. And this is an independent clause. And we could put them together by joining them with the semicolon. Susan loves is the subject and the verb. Brother likes is the subject and the verb, so I know they're both independent clauses. I know they're both simple sentences, and I know that they're joined with the semicolon. We call that an I semicolon I. And we call a compound sentence that is joined with a coordinating conjunction I, comma, CI. These are the first 5 sentences from today's homework, or classwork, I guess. And I'm going to show you because I connected those up here. Do you see them? So if you were to open up your classwork and follow along with this, you would be getting the first 5 absolutely correct because Miss Fife is going to do them with you. Begin. Let's look at the instructions for this assignment. It says sentence identification. Underline the subject once and the verb twice. Circle the mid-sentence punctuation if there is any, as well as the coordinating conjunction if it is present. Label the sentence SV, SSV, SVV, SSVV, or I, CI, or I semicolon I. So my understanding is that we might have simple sentences or we might have compound sentences, so we're going to have to pay attention. First sentence, Rick and James met at the arcade. Well, that is definitely an independent clause. It makes sense to me when I read it, but there's no comma or coordinating conjunction and there's no semicolon, so it must just be a simple sentence. So the verb is met, and the subjects, who or what met, James and Rick. That makes this an SSV. I'm going to make this bigger so that my writing looks a little better. The guys went to the gym and lifted weights. That makes sense to me as an independent clause, but there are no commas or coordinating conjunctions or semicolons. So, well, actually, that's not true. I'm going to backtrack. This and in the middle here, even though that is a word that is one of the fanboys, it is not being used as a coordinating conjunction here. It's just joining together the 2 verbs. So I don't want to confuse you, but it's not comma and it's not connecting to another independent clause. So it's still just a simple sentence. Let's look for the verbs. Went. Who or what went? The guys. Subject, verb. And any other subjects or verbs? Yes, lifted. Oops, that should be red, right? SVV. So it's another simple sentence. Randy rode many of the rides at the fair. Jeff tried only one. Yay! There's a semicolon. And I remembered in the directions it said to circle that, correct? Let me just double check. It did. Circle mid-sentence punctuation. There we go. All right, let's look at the first independent clause. Randy rode many of the rides at the fair. Rode is my verb. Who or what rode? Randy. Let's look at the next one. Jeff tried only one. Tried is my verb. Who or what tried? Jeff. And I'm not going to label this an SV semicolon SV. Up here it shows me I have I, comma CI or I semicolon I. In this case, I semicolon I. Moving on. Linda jumped and knocked the ball. Is there any mid-sentence punctuation? No. So this again is a simple sentence. Let's figure out what kind. Linda jumped and knocked the ball. Jumped is a verb, and knocked. Who jumped and knocked? Linda. I have an SVB. And last, John served looked good, comma, but the line judge called it out. Comma, but looks like I have an I, comma, CI. Let's just look at our verbs and make sure that we actually have independent clauses. Looked, who or what looked good? The serve looked good. Called, who or what called? The judge called it out. Oops. So this is an independent clause, and John serve looked good as an independent clause. The line judge called it out as an independent clause, and it's connected with the I, comma, CI coordinating conjunction but. Ta-da, first 5 done. Now I noticed at the bottom it asks you to use a formula to create an original sentence. I did just that. The first one gives me the formula I semicolon I. Here's my semicolon. Miss Fife cooked dinner, semicolon. Her kids set the table. In this case, cooked was my verb. Who or what cooked? Miss Fife cooked. And set was the verb. Who or what cooked? The kids. Okay. So it's an I semicolon I. How about this one? I, comma, CI using, gives you the coordinating conjunction, yet. It is thundering, comma, yet the pool is still open. Is, who or what is, it. That's a subject verb. Is, who or what is, pool. That's also a subject verb. And here's my coordinating conjunction. All right, I want you to give this a try. You only have to do a few. So if you go, I'm sorry to scroll so fast for you, but if you go to your assignment, you'll see that I did the first 5. So you have to do 6 through 10, and I'm asking you to write your own original sentences for 11 and 12. I always do prefer it when you type them using the text box, because I think that's just so much neater. Please do that. But if you do choose to handwrite them on the line, it is great when you make it much larger so that anything you write, I can read. Okay, so that makes my life so much easier. We'll see how sloppy it looks when it's small, but then when, look at that, so nice and neat. All right, guys, good luck with this. And tomorrow we'll do a little more work with compound sentences, and then I have something sort of different for later in the week. I will talk to you soon. Please get back to me if you have any questions. And congratulations to those of you who did the Read Theory Challenge. I saw many of you completed 30 quizzes and passed, so you are starting off the quarter right with 3 extra credit points. Good job.